Hi, it's Future Me. Please ignore my smeared lipstick. I just want to say sorry for the audio being bad in this video. My microphone decided to not work for this entire video for no reason, and I don't know why. This is the brand I use, by the way. It's a pretty cheap phone microphone, but hey, it works for my budget. But to fix the problem, and the problem was literally I fully turned off my phone and then fully turned it on again. That was literally like one of the solutions Google recommended. If you guys have that problem, the solution is, after fully charging it and it still doesn't work, is just fully turn off your phone and then fully turn it on again, and now it works. Anyway, see you guys, enjoy the video. Hello, welcome to this week's video. This week we are going to be painting the anime figurine that I made in Tinkercad last week. You guys really liked that video. I'm like so amazed. There's a bunch of you guys who've joined the channel. Hi. I do vlogs and stuff, and I also do crafting things. So yeah, thank you for subscribing. I wasn't expecting that many views in like a week, but I was expecting that in like at least 4 years. Maybe. I wasn't expecting as popular as it did. But yeah, thank you guys. I'm so glad you all found it useful. I really hope it inspired you to make your own anime figurine in Tinkercad. I'm going to be painting the anime figurine that we made last week in Tinkercad. So this is part 2. So you guys probably remember a couple of months ago I made a video of how to make your own anime figurine where I 50-50 clay, 50-50 3D printed. But this one's different. This one's fully made of clay. But there is a lot of useful information in that video, so please check that out. There's a lot of things I'm going to be using in this video that I used in that video, but in a lot more detail in that video. So a couple of things I want to add before we start on in the video. So 3D printer I use is a Ender 3v3 printer. I know in modeling 3D anime figure-ness printing community you're meant to use a resin 3D printer, but I do live in a apartment, and I know with resin 3D printers you need a lot of ventilation, and I don't really have that as an option, so I just went with a Ender 3D printer, and it works just fine for what I want to do, and it's a lot cheaper as well, because I also know resin is insanely expensive and also very messy. So if you guys have a Ender 3D printer or you have a resin printer, use both. It doesn't matter. It works just the same on both sides. In my last couple of videos where I 3D printed anime figurines or just 3D printed in general, the filament I normally used was a... Wait, I literally have it down here. So the filament I used to use was EPLA plus HS filament, and the filament I use now is AB plus filament. I've had a lot of problems over the last week using the new filament. I didn't buy that filament. My sister very nicely, kindly bought it for me for my birthday present. She didn't realize what filament I used. Totally fine, I just worked with the materials I had. It was a very long and frustrating week trying to figure out how to use that filament with my current 3D printer, but I figured it out in a very long, frustrating 4 solid days. But we got there in the end. So yeah, those are the materials I'm using in this video, so just keep that in mind. So I recommend, if you do make your own anime figurines, I recommend using EPLA plus HS filament. Also, if you guys think this channel is just gonna completely change and just be a 3D printed anime figurine channel, I've noticed that recently. There's been a lot of channels lately where if they have one good thing going, they just stick with that, and then their whole content is like, they just don't do it anymore when people still really like that. So any of my older subscribers who like my vlogs and stuff, just keep in mind it's not going to change. I'm still going to do vlogs and I'm still going to do crafting things, so it's just going to be a mixture of both. I kind of noticed that. I know you're like meant to stick with things that are good with like YouTube and stuff, but I still like doing my vlogs and I still like making things. But anyway, let's get into the video. Hey guys, so this is earlier in the week when I'm 3D printing the pieces for the anime figurine, and you can see the piece here did not work. This is like the hair piece and it sadly did not work, and I just kind of want to show you this because I think there's just way too many videos out there where they just show how to do something and it turned out completely perfect. But yeah, I just want to show you this piece. Sadly did not work out, but I'm just going to move on and just print the other pieces instead of just focusing why this piece didn't work, and I'll chat about that later on in the video. Wow, it is hot in my car. Okay, so I'm currently at the shops now. I'm currently going to buy new art supplies because I am out of acrylic paint, I'm out of super glue, I'm out of matte varnish, I'm out of clear varnish. I'm gonna go to the $1 store. They have majority of all the art supplies I need, surprisingly, I like to use. And they do have acrylic paint that I haven't tried before, but I do like that brand quite a bit. So I'm going to go there and get them. I'm normally that kind of person who likes using something until I physically can't use it anymore, but I am out of primary colors, so that means I can't make the colors I actually need. Also, I think there's a spider in my car. Please don't bite me when I'm driving, spider. Please be on the outside. Anyway, so I'm going to pick up some art supplies and I'll come back and show you guys when I get back. I also need to get groceries. I'm also doing that. But yeah, I'll see you guys when I get back with all the art supplies. See you guys. Also, another thing I would like to add, I've finished printing off all the pieces except for one piece. This is just the base I'm 3D printing. I just thought I should start on the figurine when I have all the pieces and just let the base do its thing. I just thought I should mention that before we get into the video. Hi, we're back at my desk again after a really long time. Okay, so there's two things I want to mention. First thing, sorry about the noise in the background. You might hear my sister laugh or something. She's home. The second thing I normally like to mention when we're at this part of the video is change into something that you don't care about. And normally that's like a jumper I like to wear. It's quite cozy. But it is really freaking hot, so I'm just going to change into a random t-shirt. Change into something you don't care about so you don't ruin your nice clothing. I'll be back. Okay, so I'm back in a t-shirt I don't really care about. So now we're up to the point where we basically prep the 3D printed anime figurine for painting. If you fully 3D printed the anime figurine, you can like totally skip the sculpting part of the video and just move on to painting and all that. I just need to add a little bit of clay because I do have new filament and I don't really quite know how to use it yet. So there are chunks missing from the actual print itself, but they're pretty easy to fix. The clay I got, they didn't have white this time around. They only had brown, but that's totally okay. We're painting the entire thing white anyway. But this is the part where I show you guys how to prep 3D animated base for painting. I did show you guys that in my last video, but I'm going to show you guys the steps again in this video as well. But because this is mostly 3D printed, you don't really have to do that much sculpting with clay. So the first bit, you sand it, make sure everything's smooth. The second part is smoother again with nail polish remover, and then the third part is washing and drying the pieces. So definitely follow these steps when you're going to be painting your 3D printed anime figurine. And one thing I do recommend is wearing a mask when you're sanding, because you don't want to breathe in all the little bits of plastic. I'm just using a mask from the pandemic. I don't care if this gets like demonetized, it happened. I know I meant to use an actual I think gas mask or something. I don't remember what they're called. I'll get one in the future, but for now I'm just using a simple mask and some sanding tools. So these are all the things you need for prepping the base for painting. Welcome back. So those are all the materials you need for prepping the base for painting. So I'm just going to do that now. I forgot to mention this at the beginning, so I do need to go in and make some of the holes bigger and make some of the actual pegs itself a lot more smoother so they fit in the actual holes themselves, so all the pieces fit together nicely. I thought I should add that here too. My hands hurt so much from sanding. We're going to move on to the next step. So we're moving on to the second part where you put nail polish remover on all the pieces, so the pieces end up a lot more smoother as well. But you don't want to leave it on there because nail polish remover will eat the plastic and you don't want that. So again, it will add more smoothing to the pieces. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to get my nail polish remover, and also I think I said Q-tips in the video, but I don't have that. But I do have cotton balls, so I'll be back. Okay, so I got my glass container. You don't want to use plastic because, again, the nail polish remover will eat in the plastic and then you'll just have nail polish remover everywhere. And I got my nail polish remover, and I got my cotton balls. You just cover all the pieces in nail polish remover, and then afterwards you clean the pieces. So I'm going to do that now and turn it to time lapse. Okay, so I covered all the pieces in nail polish remover. At this point, you do want to move quite quickly so it doesn't deteriorate the plastic too much. So I'll be right back with the warm water and dishwashing detergent. Normally, I recommend get a paper towel, but I don't have any at the moment. But I just got a tea towel and you just need to dry the pieces after you wash them. Those look kind of a bit terrifying. Don't worry, we're gonna fill them in once we get to the sculpting bit. Finished washing and drying all the pieces. I'm just gonna let them dry a little bit more. And then we're gonna be moving on to the third and final part of prepping the 3D print. So we're gonna move on to step 3 after I put everything away for basically prepping and painting everything. So now we're going to move on to the third and final part of prepping the pieces for painting. So now you just need any varnish. It could be gloss, it could be matte, it doesn't really matter because we're painting it over. I'm using this one. I just picked this one up today. I feel like it's the knockoff version of Mod Podge, like it's Dod Podge. I find that kind of funny. This is just so to make sure the paint doesn't slip off or scratch off when we're painting it. If you have any knowledge of like painting on plastic, you always need to do like make it a rough surface. I do recommend you water down your varnish. 1, so you don't like use as much varnish, and 2, it makes it a lot more smoother and all that too. I don't really know the ratio. I kind of just wing it. Also, another thing I do recommend is get a makeup sponge. If you don't own I think they're called a airbrush. I think this is the first time I remembered what they're called in all these videos. If you don't own an airbrush because they're way too expensive, you don't have the space, you don't have the ventilation for it, you just get a makeup sponge. And basically you just dip the makeup sponge in the varnish and you just dab it onto the piece so everything is a nice even layer. You can also do that with painting as well. I do that later on, I'll show you guys that. But that's a really cool tip if you want nice even layers and you don't want to see those brush strokes. So now I'm going to be moving on to varnishing all the pieces and watering down my varnish bag. But yeah, you need to do all these 3 steps, by the way. But this is the ratio you want for the varnish to be when we're covering all the pieces. So yeah, I'm going to do that now and turn this into time lapse. So I'll do this really quickly. Let's jump in. So all the pieces have been varnished, and now I'm going to wait until all the pieces have fully dried, and then we'll move on to the sculpting stage that I need to add to cracks or gaps, or just add little details that I couldn't get in tinkercad. But yeah, I'm going to wait for the pieces to fully dry, so that might be tomorrow or in like a couple of hours. But yeah, I'll see you guys soon. But yeah, this is what all the pieces look like when they're just waiting to dry. But yeah, I'll see you guys in a couple of hours, or maybe tomorrow, we'll see. We'll wait until the pieces are fully dried. Now all the pieces have fully dried from putting the varnish on yesterday, and also the base is done too. I did the exact same thing like I did with all the other pieces yesterday with the base. I just filmed that off camera. And look, it's done. It's a little bit warped, but I've always had that problem when I'm 3D printing bases. I don't know why. I've heard it's because of the heat, and I've tried fixing it with like turning the heat down on the bed. But yeah, I tried to fix it, but we're doing the best with what we can. But look how cool that is. I love how the stars turned out. That's so freaking cool. Also, a fun little fact, So the reason why I make all my bases hearts, like with my figures I've been doing lately, is because I kind of want that to be my little, I guess, trademark thing I like to do, where the base, if it's my own original figurine, I want the base to be a heart. And also, I really like heart shapes. I think they're so cute. Now we are moving on to basically the sculpting and putting the pieces together stage. So there are some parts I want to glue together, and then there's other parts I need to fill up gaps. That's why we have the clay for it. Also, these are all the materials you need for this part of the video. This is the type of clay I like to use with my anime figures, even from the very beginning, like back when I used to make my anime figures strictly out of clay. This is the type of clay I like to use. This is what it looks like if you guys want to check it out. Now, I know you're meant to use epoxy sculpt when you're sculpting on plastic and all that. Epoxy sculpt is very expensive, especially with the very little amount you get. And I'm like that kind of person who thinks you don't need to spend a lot of money on supplies to make really beautiful pieces of art. So I've done it a couple of times and I've used this air dry clay. It works just fine. Also, in some bits I am going to be putting some wire through just so I can stick the pieces together and they will stay in a lot longer. I can't remember what it's called, but it's basically you make your own little pegs. I'll put the link down below in the video where I saw it. I see it a lot in anime figures and stuff like that. So I'm just using my little handheld drill bit. If you don't have one of these plastic, this type of plastic is really easy to pierce. Just get anything hard and long and spiky and just stab it through where you want it to be. Then you get your wire and just stick it through and then glue it in place. Then you're done. Okay, so I finally finished sculpting on all the pieces. I added little details like the hair and the little bow on the rabbit soft toy and little details on the backpack and filling in all the gaps in the actual anime figurine. Now, I did do a time lapse of it and you might be thinking, but I don't know how to sculpt hair or make little bows in clay. So I'm gonna show you that quickly because literally that's all I did, and like filling in gaps. So I'll show you that quickly. I'll change my camera angle. Okay, so I'll show you how to make a little bow and then how to make hair strands. So this is how you make the bow. You get a little piece of clay and you roll it out. And you want it to be a little bit even. Another way to make it even while rolling out is you basically use a flat surface, like a lid like this, and you can go like that, and it makes it all nice and even. I normally use a yogurt lid. Okay, nice and long, and then you get your roller like so, and then you roll out the piece like so. You can make it as thin or not as thin as you would like. Peel it off so it doesn't stick to the base. Now you can get a sharp pointy tool like this. I normally like dipping it in a little bit of water so it cuts nicely, and cut a rectangle like so. We'll pop these bits to the side, and then you get one side. Make sure the rectangle is a even shape, or like even, not wonky, but it's okay if it is. Okay, now you got your rectangle, then you fold one side over to the other, like so, and then you squish. And you squish down that side, like so. See, it's sort of evolving into a little bow. Now, these two top bits, you get both of your fingers and then you squish it upwards, like so. And see, it looks like a cute little bow. It has that little dip in the middle that bows have. And now you have one side of your little bow. I'll do the same thing with the other side. And now you have two little bits of your bow. Now, you put them together like so, and then you squish down in the middle. Not too firm because you don't want to ruin the sides too much. You can always go in with your little sharp object you're using and define the little, I guess, divots. There you go. Okay, now we have two sides of the bow. With the bottom half of the bow, you get that same piece of clay, and then you just cut little triangles. Okay, now you got your clay, and we're going to do the bottom half of the bow. Get your sharp pointy tool. I normally like to make it wet, and then you just cut down, and you just cut a little triangle like so. And you can also do the same on the other side, and it's up to you how big you want these pieces to be. And I think these are a little bit too big, so I'm gonna cut this one down a little bit. You lift up your little triangle and you squish the top part of the triangle into your bow, where we squish down two middle bits together, and then cut to the size you want it to be. Squish, squish, squish. There we go. Now we have the bottom half of the bow, and now we need to do the little knot bit in the middle. Now this bit's pretty simple. Get a little bit of clay, roll it into a ball, and then squish down lightly until it's like a little flat disc. You can make it as thick or as non-thick as you would like. And then you get your sharp pointy tool, or you can just sculpt this with your fingers and then cut it into a little square, like so. and then just put down the edges a little bit. There we go. And we have our little cube that's nice and round, has nice round corners like so. And normally I would like to add a little bit of PVA glue or almonds glue in the middle of the bow so it all sticks. Just place it in like so. Squish it down a little bit. I think I might have made mine a little bit too thick, but that's okay. Boom. Yeah, I made mine a little bit too thick, but that's okay. But yeah, there you go. That's how you make a little bow. I'll zoom in. There you go. Can you see the bow? Please stop shaking camera. But yeah, there you go. That's how you make a little bow. I'll show you guys how to make hair strands. So you get your piece of clay. I'll show you a couple different thicknesses that I combined when I make hair. So get your piece of clay and you roll it slightly to sort of like this thickness. I don't know how to describe the thickness. Then you get your rolling pin and you don't want to squish it down completely. Just lightly squish it down. Now with this bit, this is going to be a more thicker piece. So you want it to be that thick, or you can have it thicker or smaller. It's up to you at the end of the day. So with this bit, you can do it two ways. You can do it with a Stanley knife or with scissors. But basically, you get your scissors and then you cut a little leaf shape. See? Leaf shape like so. Then you can get your Stanley knife and then you just do little light lines, like following, I guess, the angle you want the hair to be. So if this is straight and I want it to be slightly to the left, I tilt it slightly to the left with my thumb or my fingers. Then I get my Stanley knife and I slowly move the Stanley knife to make that look of hair movement. I don't know how to explain this well. And then you can do that a couple of more times. You don't have to do it all the way through because hair is moving all over the place. So you just do some places and then you're done like this. Sometimes I would like to get my scissors and then snip like that. And then it looks like it has more defining pieces, or you can have it hair pieces like that. You move it with your thumb like so. So that's like more of a bigger hair piece. Hope you guys can see that. Okay, now we're gonna move on to a second piece. Get your clay. You roll it in between your hands and you want to use these bits at the end of the bit you rolled. Just cut that off. And then done. You get that really fine strand that you want. And there you go, that's how you make bows and hair strands in clay. A thing I do recommend every time you stick on a new piece of air dry clay, I recommend using PVA glue or almonds glue. I say they're in between, but it's exactly the same stuff. That's what you want to use. Now I'm gonna clean my desk to make it less covered in clay, and I'll see you guys tomorrow when everything has fully dried. And I'm very tired. It's currently like 4 p.m. almost 5, and I've been doing this since I think 11 a.m. I'm very sleepy, but I am gonna wait until the pieces have fully dried, and then we'll paint over the pieces completely white, and then we'll start painting the pieces. Very exciting. But I am gonna at least wait 24 hours for the pieces to fully dry because it is air dry clay, so I want them to be fully dry. I'll see you guys all tomorrow. Hello, it's the next day. All the pieces are all dry, and now I'm just gonna go in and just sand down everything just a little bit so it's not as rough. And then after that, I'm going to paint everything white. You can clearly see he is a little bit orange, but also I really loved how the hair turned out. It's not exactly like in the anime photo I was using for reference, but it's close. And like I said in the beginning when we're varnishing everything, if you don't have a airbrush, I do recommend using a makeup sponge and some tweezers, and then you can just basically sponge everything with like acrylic paint or whatever paint you're using. So everything will be an even coat. This is what you need for the painting stage of the video. Welcome back. Okay, so now we are going to start painting the figure. We're going to completely paint the figure white, and then after that, we're going to let it dry, and then we'll start painting colors and stuff in the actual figurine itself. Very exciting stuff. I finished coating all the pieces. I did about 3 coats of white and 3 coats of black on the pieces that I needed painted. So I'm just gonna wait for everything to fully dry, and then we're going to move on to the next step, and that's actually painting the pieces. Honestly, that is my favorite part when I'm making these anime figurines, is like painting all the little details. So much fun. It's like my favorite part, and you see the pieces slowly come to life. I love it. Anyway, I'll be back in a couple of hours, and then we'll start painting, shading, doing all that fun stuff. I'll see you guys in a couple of hours. Okay, it's a couple of hours later, and all the pieces have finally dried, and now we can finally get to the fun bit. It's basically adding texture, shading, all the pieces. Here's also another thing. I don't actually know how to properly shade figurines and stuff like that. So basically, you guys are going to be learning with me. One tutorial that I think is going to work best for me, because I followed other tutorials where they use pastels, and the pastels don't really work that well with what I want to do. You guys are going to be following along with me how to shade and stuff. Anyway, let's get into it. I know, I feel like I should explain this while I'm doing this. So normally with shading, you would normally go like darker, say it's a blue t-shirt, and you want to make the creases to be a little bit darker shade of blue, and then you want the highlights to be slightly lighter shade of blue. But we're dealing with black. You can't get any darker than that. So how you do that, you do very shades of grey and white. So I'm going to be going in with darker shades of grey to add the creases into the jeans, and then I'm going to add a lighter shade of grey to add highlights to the jeans, and also the ripped jeans. But the concept art I did, very roughly did by the way, I did give him ripped jeans. So I'm going to be doing that, and similar with the hoodie, I'm going to do darker shades of grey for the creases and all that, and then lighter shades of grey for the highlights. By the way, thank you for that one commenter who confirmed, yes, it is AI, I can do whatever I want. Thank you so much. So I'm officially claiming this character as my own, because fuck AI. Again, you guys are following along with me. I do not know how to shade, so we'll see how this turns out. So all the pieces are not all done yet, but I'm insanely tired. It's almost 9 o'clock at night, so I'm gonna head off to bed. But then tomorrow I'm gonna finish off the pieces. See you guys tomorrow. Also, another thing I want to add, you might see all this paint on the side of my hand, or like majority on my wrist and all that. I just developed a bad habit of getting excess paint off my paintbrush on the side of my sleeve when I used to wear an art smock. And that habit has never gone away. Now I just kind of just do it directly to my skin. It's okay, it's fine, it's only acrylic paint. But today I'm gonna paint all the final details and all that on the figurine today. Also, I think this video is gonna come out a little bit later than expected. I normally like to release these videos on like Sunday time, like Australian time. I feel like this video is gonna come out a lot later than expected, but you guys are cool. You'll be cool with that, right? Okay, I finished painting all the pieces and adding all the little details, and now we're going to be moving to the final part where we're going to be adding little details, like adding shading with pastels, and then also varnishing the pieces and also adding little bits and pieces. Now, one thing I do want to add, I am going to be adding little chains to his jeans, just with like some old jewelry, and then also his little earrings as well. Sadly, when I was 3D printing, I did not pick up the little chains or earrings and stuff that I put on the actual character. I'm kind of bummed out. I worked like really hard on those bits. I attached those bits with like old jewelry. I've done that before, like with mixed mediums. I'll put a picture up here where I've done it with an old anime figurine I made. I used metal and stuff to make the earrings and stuff like that. So I'm gonna do that now, and I am gonna move my camera angle from like here to like you guys see me working with my hands, because it is very small pieces. And yeah, I just want to show you that bit. Anyway. But here's something I really like to do with like all my anime figures. I always like to add one piece of little glitter in the eye shine, just so when the sun hits on it you can see that little sparkle. It's like just a little me thing I like to do. So these are the 3 colors I like to use and mix together when I'm making shading, like on the cheeks and on the hands and the knees and stuff. This pink, this red, and then this, I guess, peach brown color I like to use, and sometimes I would like to add a little bit of red. I like to have a dedicated lid for my pastels so it doesn't get like dirty or stuck with any like glue or anything like that. So I just eyeball the amount I want. I like to use a brush like this. It's like more square shape, and again I like to keep a dedicated brush for this so it doesn't ruin the brush when I'm actually putting the pastels on. And here I just want to do a little bit of blush on the cheeks here, and then maybe up here. Okay, everything's all painted, all the little details, all the little earrings, all the little accessories, and all the shading. Everything is all done now. Now I'm going to varnish everything, and then after that I'm gonna wait for everything to fully dry, and then we'll put it together. Very exciting stuff. One thing I do want to add, I did add some cute little black stars. I forgot I had them in my glitter collection and I thought it would be perfect. A couple of hours later, all the pieces are fully dry after being varnished, and then we can finally put it together. Very exciting stuff. So I'm gonna put them together and then I'll see you guys all in the reveal. Hello! Okay, so now it's time for the reveal. Look at him! Ah! I think he turned out so cool. My favorite bit is this bit. I don't know why, I just love the little keychain. I think it turned out so cool. I really want to say, I loved how it turned out, honestly. I think I say that with everything I make. I think I'm always like instantly surprised I can like make something like that and it turns out well and not like So with all these, I always start with the good or the bad. I think I'll start with the bad this time. I think I do that every time. But first things, like this took way longer to like print and paint, like 2 weeks for this entire thing to print and be painted. A little bit's more also on me, and I got new filament. I said at the beginning, so I literally spent a good, I think 4 solid days figuring out how to use it, not sticking to the bed, and then pieces just snapping off and breaking, coming off the bed halfway through. After 5 days of like figuring out how to use my stupid 3D printer with my new filament, I finally figured out how to print out all the pieces, and some of the pieces did take a really long time to print. Actually, hoodie pieces, one of them took 10 hours to print, and then the other bit 8 hours to print. I think it's because of how thick the pieces were. So another thing I would like to mention, when I printed out the pieces and some bits I was checking to see if they would fit or not, the actual like where I put the little keyhole or peg in the actual piece itself, and then I tried to take it out and the little peg literally just snapped. I think it's more so the plastic itself, so I had to like go in make my own pegs. I've heard that where it's a lot more not brittle, but like not as flexible as my old filament. I think that was like probably the major problem. This took way longer than expected. There was just a lot of problems I had printing these pieces. I'm gonna start off with the good now instead of saying everything sucked. Firstly, I made my own like fully 3D modeled my own anime figurine like in tinkercad. I think that's really freaking cool. Like I've never done that before. I've only recently started 3D printing my own anime figurines or doing the bases. I think if you scroll back early days of this YouTube channel, that was like a couple of months ago, I literally got my 3D printer, I think about 7 months ago now. That's what the video says anyway. But on top of that, saying all those bad things, this is my official first time printing off a fully 3D printed anime figurine, and also making, like, 3D printing my own made anime figurine as well. So I do have a lot of things to learn with like 3D printing anime figurines, like fully, because again, I've never done this before. I've only printed bases, like you can see here on these. So like I've only printed off the actual base of these figurines, even the base here, and then sculpted on top, compared to this one here, where he is fully 3D printed apart from his hair and some bits on the actual hoodie and stuff. Like, he is not like 100% made of 3D printed material. He's more like 85% 3D printed filament material, and then the rest is like clay. I was thinking about it last night. It's like, I really like how everything turned out like 3D printed at the end of the day. Like, the hoodie doesn't look bad, it looks chunky. I love how the jeans turned out. They actually look like jeans. The Converse, the little choker he's wearing. Also, my favorite bit is the keychain, by the way. 80% 3D print my own anime figurine, and I think that's really freaking cool. That's why I got into sculpting in the first place when I was a teenager. I just wanted to make my own anime figurines. I think this is a really cool learning process and step up from my old anime figurine. I'm not sure where I'm gonna put him. I'll put him somewhere. But yeah, I hope this inspired you to make your own anime figurine and then 3D print it. Anyway, I think I'm not gonna make another crafting video for a while. This took a lot out of me. Next week it's just gonna be a chilled out vlog video. Sorry guys if you're here only for the crafting videos. I do vlogs too. So I think I might just go back and do some chilled out vlogs for a while, and then when I'm not as tired, I'll go back doing some more crafting videos for you guys. Also, let me know if you make your own recreation, because again, this entire figure, he is free to download. The file to download this anime figurine is in my last video. Definitely let me know if you make your own of this character. Please tag me on Instagram or any of my other social medias I have down below. Thank you for watching this week's video. I upload 3 times a month. You can subscribe if you want to, it's okay if not. All my social medias are down below if you want to follow me on that. And I'll see you guys all in the next video. Bye!